We in Clare believe that artificial intelligence, or AI, will fundamentally change the way we live and work. It is also likely to become crucial in addressing society's grand challenges, such as climate, energy and mobility, food and natural resources, health, and inclusive, secure societies.
Clare strongly supports the development of AI made in Europe, with a strong focus on responsible and trustworthy AI for the benefit of all citizens. It supports the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and promotes two central goals, AI for good and AI for all.
Following our establishment in June 2018, we have become the largest AI network worldwide, focused on research and innovation in the world.
Europe has all the expertise needed to progress rapidly in the deployment of these technologies, but we need to direct our energy and resources towards building a coherent infrastructure to stimulate deployment and adoption, build up an effective innovation ecosystem, and drive excellent research.
Building on Europe's existing strength across all areas of AI with its strong universities, research institutions, and companies, Clare wants to ensure that many of tomorrow's advanced technologies, products, systems, and services are European and are based on and reflect European realities, needs, and values.
Trustworthy human-centric AI leverages a broad spectrum of AI techniques, including machine learning, automated reasoning, and multi-agent systems. To achieve global impact, we need large-scale investments into AI talent, AI infrastructure, as well as the effective and responsible deployment of AI systems across all sectors of our economies.
We need to invest broadly to support excellence in AI in regions throughout Europe. We need to invest in central facilities and infrastructure, to bring together AI experts and other stakeholders, to create critical mass and global visibility. Most importantly, we need to invest now.
Join Clare and support us in achieving our inclusive and ambitious vision for European excellence in human-centric, trustworthy AI.
The time to act is now. Join us in shaping a brighter European future.
Good morning, everyone. So thank you for joining us today to this Rising Researcher Network launch event. This event will happen in two parts. So first, there will be talks that are streamed on YouTube, and then you will all be invited to join us on Gathertown, where you will be able to ask questions to the speakers and then to have together a gamified networking session. So we're thrilled and happy that we can do this during the European AI Week. So I will first give Nathanael Ackerman, the chair of the European AI Week, give a word of introduction.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So it's my pleasure to welcome you to this session related to a very, very, very important topic about artificial intelligence, which is attracting and retaining the talent in Europe. So we have prepared 99 events during this European AI Week. Claire has been really active in making all the contacts through Europe, and thank you for that. We will have, and you are all invited to the closing ceremony at 6 p.m. Brussels time today for the first impression we've got. I remind you, we have the speakers challenge with the naming of any woman that is that was important in computer science history. I thank you so much for your involvement, and I let you the floor.
So thank you. Then We got a video message from Axel Voss, who is an AIDA member. So we will now show it to you.
Hello to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank you for having me at your event. Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend live and in person. For that, I apologize. But I also would like to congratulate Claire for launching their new Rising Researchers Network. This is certainly inspiring to see talented researchers like you who are motivated to come together to explore the field of artificial intelligence. This project shows how important it is to promote innovation in AI by providing young researchers with the means to acquire digital skills and increase digital literacy and resilience. AI and overall digital education needs to start at an early stage and remain available at all levels of employment to create AI ecosystems of excellence and also to increase the pool of AI talents in the EU. For that, we need access to better conditions, infrastructure, as well as investments into research of key technologies. This can be achieved through chairs on AI at European universities, as well as competitive salaries for AI research and the provision of more funding in order to properly train and retain the next generation of researchers and entrepreneurs and to prevent brain drain to locations outside the EU. So Claire's new Rising Researchers Network is a great example of how these ambitions can be largely and collaboratively enforced from the early stage of research careers. So I wish you all the best in all your future collaborations, and the network will be a great opportunity to inspire and to inform young AI researchers of the support they can get. Have a wonderful event, use it, and I hope we can see each other one day also in person. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so we will start with talks. I will introduce everyone in the beginning to have a better flow of talks. So bear with me a minute. So our first talk will be given by Holger Hoos. He's a founding member and the current chairman of CLAIR. He's an Alexander von Humboldt Professor of AI in Aachen University in Germany, a Professor of Machine Learning in Leiden University in the Netherlands, Adjunct Professor of Computer Science in the University of British Columbia in Canada, as well as Faculty Associate of the Better World Institute for Advanced Studies. He's a fellow of the Association for Computer Machinery, of the Association for Advancement of AI, of the European Association for AI, of which he's also the Vice President, and Editor-in-Chief of JAIR. He is also the leader of the Vision Mandate of European Network of Centers of Excellence in AI. After him, we'll have a talk of Sofia Heden, who is a project manager of AI for AI. That is a program that aims at attracting top talents in AI and connect them with industry. After, we will have a talk from Jefrey Lijffijt, who is a professor of data science, knowledge discovery, and visual analytics at Ghent University. He's an academic expert of the Flemish AI Academy. He has been a research associate at the University of Bristol and a Marie Sklodowska-Curie Fellow at Ghent University. Then we will have a talk from Sachin Gaur, who is a research coordinator at the NORA Research School. He has a double master in mobile security and cryptography from Aalto University in Finland and Tartu University in Estonia. He leads the NORA's open dataset competition, give AI courses, and leads also the Nordic AI Young Researcher Symposium. Then I will introduce the Rising Researcher Network a bit, followed by a presentation from Bertrand, who is a scientist at ESA Lab, who uses data-driven technique for visual understanding. Using machine learning and computer vision, he aims at solving environmental and population challenges. So let's go to our first speaker, Holger Voss.
Hello, everyone. It's truly a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much, Marie, for the very kind introduction, which made me sound like an important person. In reality, I'm more than anything a very busy person. So let me share my screen and then share a few thoughts with you today. So I'm extremely pleased to be here today for the launch of Claire's Rising Researcher Network. I'd like to make a few remarks on why that actually is such an important thing. And I'd like to start with this truly wonderful quote by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Pour ce qui est de l'avenir, il ne s'agit pas de le prévoir, mais de le rendre possible. As for the future, it is not a question of predicting it, but of making it possible. It has been said a few years ago that artificial intelligence is the future, not only for Europe, but for all humankind. That it comes with colossal opportunities, but also threats that are difficult to predict, and that whoever becomes the leader in this sphere will become the ruler of the world. Do you know who said this? This guy in 2017. And that should make us very concerned, because over the last few years, and especially over the last few months, the world has changed quite drastically so that these words sound more ominous than ever. And of course, he didn't think primarily of Europe. He thought and talked about Russia. Nonetheless, AI will indeed change everything. Why is that the case? Well, because AI is the key to better science, to better engineering, used right also to better public administration, the better use of our resources in that context, and ultimately, and perhaps most importantly, to solving the grand problems of our time, such as climate change, pandemics, inequity, misinformation, and a host of other. AI, in a word, is the key to the future of Europe. Now, that's why the EU has an AI strategy, and that's why Claire, which I will talk about in a moment, has analyzed and responded to the latest version of that strategy, including the AI Act released just last year, in quite some detail. That has formed a starting point for discussions, analyses, and other activities within the European AI community, with the EU Commission, EU Parliament, and others. Our response, Claire's response, raises 12 concerns and 14 recommendations, which I will not go through today. I will just allude to a few of them. But instead, what I really want to talk about is at a high level, three things: vision, talent, and critical mass, because these are the three key ingredients that we need for the success of AI made in Europe. So let's start with the vision. And there is good news in that the European Commission has formulated quite early in 2018 a vision for excellence in European AI, a vision truly at the European level with the right kind of ambition. More impressively, different from many other countries that have released similar visions around the same time, it from the very beginning expressed a clear focus on AI that augments rather than aims to replace human intelligence, human-centric AI. However, there are also bad news in that upon further analysis, and certainly in hindsight, we're now in 2022, so almost 4 years after, the EU vision lacks detail for translating the substantial amounts of funding that have been allocated into a real success for AI made in Europe. And I would argue personally that we're worse off relative to our competition now than we were in 2018. The coordinated plan on AI actually lacks coordination and certainly lacks clout. It has produced almost no globally visible impact, sadly. And finally, there appears to be a growing and ultimately too much focus on regulation rather than the kind of investment that makes AI developed in Europe and used in Europe a global success story. Enter Claire. In 2018, a large number of AI researchers, young and old, from all across Europe came together in order to develop a vision to provide guidance to the European Commission and the member states in making this very substantial investment into the future. And CLARE actually stands for excellence across all of AI for all of Europe with a human-centered focus, but has also strongly adopted a focus on AI for good, which is AI aimed at helping us meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and AI for all, which is AI for the benefit of everyone. The CLARE vision is on human-centered AI, AI for good, and AI for all. It's about European excellence AI based on shared values and diversity of perspectives, so very compatible with the European idea. And it's for AI made in Europe, for Europe, but also beyond, for the world. And of course, it aims to achieve success and brand recognition of CERN, ESA, and Airbus, three major European success stories. There has been very strong support for the vision and its details, which you can find on our website, which I will not go through today, from international organizations such as the European AI Association, the Association for the Advancement of AI, which is the globally leading scholarly AI association, the European Space Agency, from leading research institutes such as IMEC in Belgium, DFKI in Germany, FBK in Italy, INRIA in France, and TNO in the Netherlands, and many others, and from the governments of an increasing number of EU member states, including Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, which of course is at the heart of the EU historically speaking. So I want to highlight this one concern, a concern that we in CLARE have raised very prominently last year, namely that the actions foreseen under the EU's plans are scattered, and none of them appears to be likely to substantially move the needle on AI research or innovation in the global context, or to lead to game-changing AI capabilities. There is indeed a serious risk of increasing fragmentation and as a result, diminished global impact of the European AI ecosystem under this plan. And the thing that needs to be done now is based on the premise that simpler is better. Really, Europe should focus on a smaller number of impactful initiatives, each backed by resources that allow the community to achieve the global impact and leadership that the Commission also aspires to see in key areas of AI research, innovation, and applications. It's not too late for that. It can still be done, particularly because in the second key area, talent, there's good news. Because we have lots of talent all across Europe and all across Europe's AI ecosystem. We just need to leverage it properly. And also there are rather good EU-level mechanisms for support, such as ERC starting grants, Marie Curie actions, and many more. So there is in fact a really good basis for supporting talent in AI in Europe. But the bad news is brain drain is going on. And there is an increasing and to me personally extremely disturbing trend that has been amplified by the pandemic, that people working in Europe and enjoying European lifestyles and European environments, but nevertheless for US-based tech companies driven by values that are not entirely aligned with our own, and certainly working primarily for the profit of entities elsewhere. And that's not bad per se, but if it happens at a large scale, as we currently start seeing, it is a major problem for Europe, also in terms of technical sovereignty. So brain drain doesn't just happen when people leave Europe. Brain drain also happens when people telework for companies that are primarily based outside of Europe or work for European subsidiaries of US-based companies. That's also brain drain. So the third point I want to briefly emphasize is the assembling of critical mass. This is actually very important. And here is the key area where Claire has tried to make a difference. First, by assembling a very large research network that you heard about in the video. Secondly, by launching quite recently an innovation network comprised of companies focused on AI research and innovation and AI applications as well, which is off to a very good start. And last, but certainly not least, the Rising Researchers Network, which we are launching today. And that Rising Researchers Network brings together the three key ingredients. It brings together vision, the clear vision augmented by the individual visions of the young people that come together in this network. It brings together talent, that's its purpose. And it reaches critical mass because it has been growing very fast indeed. There are other mechanisms for creating critical mass than building networks. Building networks is actually not sufficient. There also need to be special places, and they exist globally, global attractors for talent. Here is one of them, Apple Park in California. Apple spent $1 billion for building the so-called spaceship campus, and they had a very good reason for doing so. Because, as it turns out, people working closely together, at least for periods at a time, can achieve much more than people only connected by teleconferencing. I think over the pandemic, we've gotten a very keen idea of what's possible, but also of what's lacking when we can't meet and physically work together any longer. And of course, such special places, such global attractors for talent also exist in Europe. This is one of the main buildings of CERN in Switzerland, with an amazing number of very talented experts from particle physics assembled in front of us. Wouldn't it be fantastic to have a place like this, a place for meetings, a place for joint work at very large scale for AI in Europe? I think it would be absolutely wonderful, and it would help us to crystallize, to bring together the critical mass. We need to think big. We need to think CERN, ESA, Airbus. These are all European success stories that have been conceived very ambitiously, then funded quite generously. Of course, this hasn't been trivial at all, and then have been made into resounding global success stories, willed into existence, and then brought to success. We need to do the same for trustworthy, human-centered AI made in Europe, the very thing that all of us, the Commission, European Parliament, the member states, Claire, Alice, the ICT 48 networks, absolutely everyone wants to achieve success for that. And in order to do that, we need a bold and attractive vision and an ambitious, realistic plan for realizing this vision. We need to attract, retain, and develop talent. We need to give this talent opportunity in Europe and for Europe. And we need to achieve critical mass. These things we must do, actually not now, but we should have done yesterday, yesteryear, 3 years ago. But unfortunately, we didn't, because at the level of the European Commission and the member states, money has been spent, and money has been spent effectively of sorts, but it hasn't been spent in ways that achieves that global impact. And that is something we really, truly need to change. And in order to change it, more guidance needs to be provided and taken into account from those that actually translate the money into success. And the talent that is currently organizing itself in Claire's Rising Researcher Network are exactly those people who will start doing this now and who will be the key to doing it going forward. Because as for the future, it is not a question of predicting it, but of making it possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Holger. So we will move on to our second speaker, Sofia Heden.
Thank you very much. I hope that you can see me and my screen. So my name is Sofia, and I work as a project manager for talent programs at AI Sweden. And I will tell you more about one of our initiatives, I for AI, a program for future leaders of AI, where international top talents are introduced into the Swedish AI ecosystem. And I actually started at AI Sweden this Monday, so 5 days ago. So I haven't been a part of this process, but I will tell you, I will do my best to tell you about the program, on everything from the idea behind it to the results and what the future
looks like. And first of all, AI Sweden is the Swedish National Center for Applied AI. And our mission is to accelerate the use of AI for the benefit of our society, our competitiveness, and for everyone living in Sweden. And the talent team that I am a part of started last year, as we clearly see that there is a lack of AI competence in Sweden. Almega and the Swedish IT and telecom industries presented a report in 2020 stating that 70,000 people will be needed in the tech sector by 2024 in Sweden alone. And data science and other AI competence, for example, data processing and machine learning, has the strongest increase in demand. And the tech competence shortage really threatens Swedish innovation capacity and growth. So one of the proposals in the report on how to solve the shortage of digital expertise is to attract international talent to Sweden, hence the initiative I for AI. And this is a unique program for future leaders in AI, and it increases the pool of AI talents in Sweden by attracting international talent. AI Sweden's co-director, Martin Svensson, states that the I for AI program shall give international graduates a fantastic experience of working with AI in Sweden and at the same time help our partners attract top talents. The program layout was outlined last year, and the desire was to have 4 to 8 participating talents who were not Swedish citizens, 2 to 4 participating partner organizations who would take in the talents. And the talents would rotate in pairs every 6 months. Hence, depending on the number of talents and partners, the program would be 12 to 24 months long. And the talents would spend 1 day a week at the AI Sweden office and will be offered a competitive salary as well as housing. And the candidate profile is high-performing AI talents with impressive resumes that have studied a master's or PhD in an AI-related field. They should have up to 3 years of experience and a desire to move to and work in Sweden. So step 1 was to assemble the cohort and finalize the structure, which I already briefly mentioned. And during the spring last year, these organizations were assigned as participating partner organizations: AstraZeneca, Zensact, and Sahlgrenska University Hospital, who are all located in Gothenburg. So these are the 3 partner organizations. The next step was to market this program, recruit talents, and select the talents. AI Sweden performed the marketing as well as the screening of applicants and the first set of interviews. The participating organizations performed the final interviews with the remaining candidates and together selected the talents. AI Sweden would support the process with employment contracts, visas, housing, and Swedish language courses. These are some quick stats of the recruitment process. There were over 7,000 views of the ads, interest from 58 countries around the world, and over 40 relevant candidates applied, and several of them had a PhD, even though only a master's was required. 8 finalists were selected for interviews with the participating partner organizations, and 4 candidates were selected and admitted to the program. By the time the program started, which was in October last year, 2 talents were placed at each participating organization on a rotating schedule, which could be seen on this slide. As there were 4 admitted candidates, 1 organization is without talents for each rotation, and each rotation is 6 months. And the rotation is important because it allows them to get working experience from different industries and different employers, and hopefully they will find a future career within AI in Sweden. And 1 day a week is spent at AI Sweden to become a part of our organization and to get boosted with knowledge and ideas to bring back to the partners. The first rotation will happen in a few weeks, so the talents will switch organizations, which will be really exciting. And the final step and really desire is that the participating partner organizations will want to hire the talents at the end of the program. And this first pilot really of the program will end in March next year. And the i4AI pilot got great interest, both from top AI talents as well as from the media. And these are some articles that were written during last year. They're in Swedish, obviously, but they're about this program and how it will attract AI talents to Sweden. And these are our 4 current i4AI talents participants. This here is some of their feedback, which has been very positive. They get to develop their professional skills in different domains, different areas, and at different types of organizations. And the day that they spend at AI Sweden keeps the connection between the participant and the team around i4AI, as well as the whole of AI Sweden. Here is a quote from one of our participating organizations, Sahlgrenska University Hospital.
Please, please wrap up soon.
Oh, sure. I will skip this slide then and just show you this slide of the final thoughts from the core team of i4AI. Just briefly stating that the first i4AI can't be considered as anything other than a success. So of course, there will be a second round that we are currently working on. This is just a short overview of the timeline. The application process will start in April and final candidates will be decided in May. The program should start in September. So please keep a lookout on our webpage and LinkedIn to not miss when the application opens. And here are just some contact details if you have any further questions or want to get in contact with us. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks a lot. I see many opportunities for the Rising Researcher Network here too. Our next speaker is Jefrey Lijffijt.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you see my slides well?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation. This is a topic that is very close to my heart. And in fact, I think supporting doctoral students and young researchers is one of the reasons I joined the Flanders AI Academy. So I'm Jefrey Lijffijt. I'm originally from the Netherlands, and I've been throughout Europe, as Marie also said in the beginning. So, for example, taking advantage of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie program. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about the Flanders AI Academy, and then I hope to also leave a little bit of time for speculating about future initiatives that we could take and what's maybe still missing in the European ecosystem a bit, and perhaps tell you why Claire could be a good place to try to fill that gap. Okay, so the Flanders AI Academy doesn't just focus on doctoral education, but we're a center for lifelong learning about AI. We started beginning of last year. So we are focused both on professionals and researchers. In fact, 2/3 of our efforts go towards education for professionals, from beginner to expert. So whether it's taking the first steps in what is data science, machine learning, or AI, towards dissemination of the state-of-the-art knowledge and specialist courses. So we are a collaboration between all universities and universities of applied science in Flanders. And we also have industry organizations as partners. We mainly work around 3 topics. One is the amplifier. So rather than just creating new courses, we index what is already available and try to make it searchable in an easy manner. So we try to get more people to courses that already exist. We do expertise and matchmaking. I'll come back to our website in the following slide. We also do expertise and matchmaking. So we don't do individual courses for companies, for example, but we do matchmaking in the sense of if they have a certain need, education around a certain topic, then we point them to the right experts to fill this gap. So we also monitor what kind of courses exist, and we analyze the market in what's needed. And then we try to fill the gaps. Now, I must say that most of the market is a gap, so there's quite a lot of work in this direction. So we create new courses. We don't teach these ourselves, but people from the universities of applied science, as well as private partners, are involved to teach people more expertise in AI. So this is a screenshot from our website. It's available both in Dutch and English. It's focused on the Flemish market, of course, because that's where our funding also comes from. So there is, we index over 200 courses. So we index everything that's physically happening in Flanders and sometimes also outside Flanders if we think it's particularly relevant. And there is also a page where MOOCs are listed, for example. So things that you can do in your own time, that's mostly online. So that could also be relevant for people in other regions or countries. We launched our new website last week. Now educators can also add their own courses. This is quite similar to an initiative that also exists in Germany. So it's the KI campus. But this kind of webpage doesn't exist in many countries yet, I think. To say something briefly about co-creation of courses, here are some examples of courses that we created over the past year. So it's not just focused about people who already know about AI. We had 2 sessions co-organized with industry. One was, for example, about occupational health and safety, so AI systems to improve safety at the workplace. Teaching about human-machine interaction, cobotics, and that kind of thing. Simpler topics like robotic process automation for streamlining administration at municipalities. Trying to teach AI to general practitioners, also in the social and culture sector. One-day inspiration event around cultural heritage, but also specialist courses like adversarial learning, which is a special technique in machine learning that has been that is useful to make more robust models. We had several seminar series over the past year aimed specifically at PhD students and researchers. One was about time series because we did some interviews at the beginning when we started with students, and it turned out that time series was a topic that they wanted to learn about most. So we organized together with KU Leuven a seminar series about that. And something that I took the initiative for myself was teaching about ethics and legal aspects related to AI. So we had a seminar series which was supposed to perhaps take place physically also, such that there would be a networking aspect. But in the end, it was fully online throughout the year. We called it Sense and Sensibility of AI. We also did a specialist course for PhD researchers and in biomedical research. So 10 sessions, and we had more than 100 participants. Introduction to AI and machine learning for biomedical research. Now, something that we are looking into is kind of the cross-fertilization between course for professionals and research. Often the topics, they are not very different. So it's actually useful for both. Some things that are ongoing. So we're trying to build a doctoral and alumni community to stimulate further cross-fertilization in research. So people, we should bring them together such that they can talk and great new ideas can come forward from that. And it's also useful for them to build a network because they are the future of experts. And of course, we also grow our own network by doing more of these physical events. Some things that are, for example, happening, we have research days organized by FLAIR, which is Flanders AI Research. We also have a forum which is more together with industry to stimulate innovation. And in the fall, we hope to organize some dedicated events for PhD students. We're trying to set up a rotating seminar series also outside Flanders, for example, together with the people from Wallonia and Brussels with Trail and VAIA. And there is a dedicated AI conference in the Benelux, so Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, around AI and machine learning that happens every year already. Also, something that we're trying to do is get more international collaboration. So, of course, then we have access to wider expertise. Not everything exists in Flanders. And it could also be more efficient. So, of course, it's not very helpful to create the same course over and over again in every country in Europe. So things that we could think about is joint organization of summer schools, also to attract PhD students from outside Europe here. And yeah, get to know them more and perhaps attract them also and show them how Europe is. Sharing educational material courses, perhaps exchange programs. Of course, these already exist. We have the training programs, we have the new networks, Claire, Elise, the ICT 48 networks were mentioned by Holger. So many things already exist, but yeah, we can think about whether it's already enough. And something that I think is very important is to also show our successes within and outside Europe. I'm going to come back to that in my final slide. But something that I want to mention is some of this is quite complex. So this is, of course, the map of Europe on the right. On the left, you have a map of Belgium. So Belgium consists of 3 regions. Flanders is the yellow part in the north, where people speak Dutch. Then we have Brussels, which is bilingual. It's the orange part there in the middle. And then there is the south, where people speak French, except for in the blue region. There people speak, the primary language is German. So we consist of 3 regions. So we have different initiatives to support all kinds of actions. And then we also have many doctoral schools. So in Belgium, the doctoral school, people actually get a degree from a doctoral school in a university. But then there are also the non-official doctoral schools around different topics, like optimization and control, computation, inference, and learning. And each of these doctoral schools, yeah, they have a different set of universities involved. So I'm not saying that all of this should disappear, but it makes the area to work in kind of complex, and setting up new collaborations also not necessarily very easy. I'm really happy about the founding of the AI Doctoral Academy. Yeah, I'll try to wrap up.
Thank you.
My final part. So let me make it very brief. I think attracting and retaining talent, and of course also growing talent, requires a full package. So we should have good basic education, top researchers, infrastructure, supporting locally PhD students to be successful. We need valorization and support entrepreneurship, mobility, and collaboration. And we should also make this visible within and outside Europe. Okay, I'll leave it there. That's exactly 10 minutes. Want to know more about us? Please visit our website.
Thanks a lot. Our next speaker will be Sachin Gaur from NORA.
Yeah, thank you, Marie, for giving me this opportunity. And for me, I think it's excellent to build upon previous speakers. I also realized during the intro that Jeff is from the same university where I went to, so even more reasons to connect and collaborate. And that's what I really like about working in these networks. So the title of my talk is slightly longer, sorry for that, but it's about leveraging national and regional activities, networks of networks. How will national and regional networks benefit from and contribute to European-wide Rising Researchers Network? So I'm very grateful again to be part of this session today, and I will very briefly talk maybe in a bit more abstract manner, building on the points that previous speakers have already said about. So as we all know that the field of AI is growing very fast, and it's not just like AI has been always very horizontal topic, but there are now a lot of subfields being also, coming up very fast, which means that, it is very difficult for an individual research group or a university to keep track of what is happening. And from an education perspective, it's very difficult for a university, to take care of it. And from a young researcher's perspective, they may not find all the resources at one place. And often AI is a very cross-disciplinary topic. It means that you may also have to collaborate with people who are not just the computer science people, but also from the domain where you're applying AI. So that puts us in a very, complex situation. I am representing NORA, which is Norwegian AI Research Consortium. So we are a national network trying to, optimize the research in AI in Norway. So we see that, a young PhD researcher is, having a tough time, because often these PhD positions come with a limited time period and they don't have a lot of flexibility. So there is a big role, that we need to play here as a national network, which can optimize, things for the young researchers. So we are very young in that sense, and many of the networks in CLAIRE and similar networks to us in Europe are probably ahead of us, or some are just starting up. So we try to learn it from our young researchers, and we are in the process of doing this survey. So I'm just showing you a partial part of it, where we have inputs from some 24 of them, that what do they want to see from a research school that NORA is establishing. So in fact, NORA has been granted a research school right now, and our proposal actually received 7 out of 7 review. So it was really perceived well. And because we wanted to do it bottom up, we wanted to put students in the center. And here you can see that different people, what is their expectation on what a research school should do for them. So whether it's credit awarding courses or winter or summer school, technical workshop, research exchange, internships, so on and so forth, or interaction with industry and startups. So if you look at these activities, not to bore you with the long list, but you see that different people are interested in different intensity of these activities. And to do these activities, it is very clear that the research school needs to engage university partners, it needs to engage researchers, it needs to engage public sector, it needs to engage industry and startups. So when we see, our own role as a national network, so like Jeff mentioned that they are doing the directory part of it, which is listing and indexing. We are also running programs which may result tomorrow in exchanges, which may also result in research projects. And in general, we want to facilitate collaboration among young researchers. So this is more on an abstract level where we see a possible role of NORA. But just to give you, the benefit that when we exist, not standalone, but as a network. So we see this network hierarchy in 3 ways. So of course, at the university level, many of these networks are at the self-organized level. And then we exist at the national level, and then something like CLAIRE exists at the regional level. So how does that help us, organizing the AI research? So at the university level, it's possible to organize resources like data sets, compute, provide specialized courses. At the national level, then we can fill in the gaps. Like Jeff mentioned that every course may not be present in every university, but when we have a good overview, when we can enable one university student to participate in a course from another university, it kind of adds up. And then when we take this collaboration at the international level, where CLAIRE comes into picture, we can facilitate, researchers exchange. So a student from Norway can go to Germany or can go to UK, so on and so forth. We can find Horizon Europe projects to do together. And in the process of doing these projects or paper or exchanges, the researchers may actually end up publishing good papers. So this is where I see the role of, these network of networks. And it's to me, it's very similar to World Wide Web, how it is decentralized yet connected, and it enables us to find information at our fingertip. That is where I see the essence and the role of networks like NORA or CLAIRE. So to give you more concrete example how we see this implementation in Norway right now, I've just put this, this hierarchy that I was showing it to you, that where we see our research school, where we see this rising researchers network. And on the right-hand side, you see that we have built this website, which is called aidirectory.no. So we are trying to get an overview of all the AI projects in Norway. We are trying to get all the education, meaning courses that are happening. So for a PhD student in Norway, it is very easy to find which course is available in which university that they can take up. And sometimes doing an overview is not very simple. I will not want to bore you with this diagram, which one of my colleagues is right now building. So he's writing programs to collect data from the project bank of Research Council of Norway. And he has a process by which he's trying to find out, how many AI researchers are there in Norway. And to my understanding, we have something like 14,000 publications which have come out of various projects that have been funded by the Research Council. And from these 14,000, then we are going to find, how many unique researchers which are publishing around AI. So this is again work in progress. So we believe this number is around 8,000, 9,000. But it will be interesting then once we have this overview to see, okay, if I receive a request from Flanders that they want to collaborate with someone in Norway, which is publishing in, for example, in life sciences. So it becomes easy for NORA to facilitate this kind of collaboration in future. So zooming out, I mean, I was just talking about NORA here, but you can imagine that all of similar kind of approaches are being done by various networks right now across Europe. And this is a graphic that I have taken from CLAIR website, which in fact, one of my colleague Alex did it, which is to map all these ecosystems. So for me personally, when we participate in various meetings, we speak with each other at the international level, we all share our activities and plans that we are doing with each other, like what Jeff shared or what AI Sweden shared. And we can actually learn what worked and what did not work. And of course, more than exchange of notes, it then definitely leads to further collaboration. So for example, at NORA, we are right now building collaboration with Helmholtz Association in Germany. We are planning a research exchange. We are also doing a collaboration with the Alan Turing Institute. So many of these threads, have popped up because we are active in this network of network. And we are also actively in discussion with the Flanders Academy. So I see that for us, as a young network, it is really working fine. So this is where I end, Marie. I don't know if I took long, but thank you.
That was perfect. Thank you, Sachin. So now, before we move to the next speaker, I will talk a bit about the Rising Researcher Network. I have to figure out how to share my screen. And here it is. So the Rising Researcher Network was started by 3 PhD students with the help of Claire. So who are we? Currently, we have members, about 130 members that's joined after our initial call. They are spread over 16 countries in Europe. And we asked them also what's their position. So a third of them are PhD students, a fifth are postdocs. And then we also have a few people from industry, a few assistant professors, and a few master students who are looking for PhD positions. Our goals are to first support each other in our early career decisions, to organize events like hackathons, meetups, to arrange mentorship from senior researchers. That's something we can do with the help of Claire, and to facilitate collaboration and mobility within Europe. So the way we're structured, we have the kernel team with the 3 founding members, as well as Binit and Sachin, who joined not long ago to give a hand. So we are we're the team trying to organize everything in there and make sure that things are working well. Then we have special teams that will work on specific themes. So we have the networking cluster that organize events inside the network. We have the partnership cluster that tries to reach out to other networks, to organizations, and see what we can do together. And then for specific events, such as the AI Week, we create specific teams. So for example, for the AI Week cluster, we had Lisa, Benjamin, and me who worked on organizing these events with the help of Claire again. Now, what did we do? So we sent the first call for participation in December, I think. And internally, we already organized a few meetups to try to create a dynamic inside the network. And we also asked our members what they expect from the network, because the kernel team will not take decisions for them. We really want the members to tell us what we should do. And the main interest that was shown was actually a kind of aggregation of positions in Europe, which links pretty well with the talks that we heard before, like VAIA in Flanders, that tries to aggregate possibilities to learn more. So here, aggregate possibilities to move inside Europe, have other positions in other places, and also mentorship from senior researchers and networking with senior researchers. So those are the 3 things that the members really showed interest in. And on the other hand, our partnership cluster already worked pretty hard, and we secured 5 scholarships to attend the Artificial Intelligence and Games Summer School that happens this year. That will be only for our members. And they also worked with ESA Lab to lay the foundation of partnership. So you will hear more about the Lab just after me. And so what do we hope for the future? What do we want to do? So first, we want to have more members. In particular, you might have noticed on the first map that we lack a lot of memberships in the Eastern European countries, which would be good to have more representation. We also want to have a broader range of members to better get a better message of what our members need. We want to connect with local networks. We already started to connect with NORA through Sachin, but we also want to connect to country-wide networks. And we want to organize a mentorship. That is our main next step right now, with Claire members, senior members. And what we also hope to be able to do is, by having this space of members, be able to gather their concerns and their needs, and then talk about this with Claire, because then Claire can bring this up, can think about this in their projects, and can better address the concerns of young researchers and keep them in Europe. So if you want to get in contact for a partnership or anything, you can send an email. And if you want to join or to tell your students or your starting researchers to join our network, they can go on our website or send us an email to say that they want to join, and we'll be happy to welcome them. So now I will give the floor to the next speaker from Lab, Bertrand.
Hi everyone. Okay, so Okay, so good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. So my name is Bertrand. I'm with the European Space Agency, more precisely the PhilAb. And I will talk today about the connection between AI, of course, we are at the AI European Week, and space applications, and more specifically, Earth observation. The ESA PhilAb is something a bit unique in its genre. It was established in 2018 as part of the ESA Earth Observation Program. We are based in sunny Italy, near Rome, and in Frascati, in the S3 Center, which is the the ESA Center with lots of focus on Earth observation. And we really are functioning as a hub with internal research of maybe transport technologies that can be applied to Earth observation or space in general, but also with lots of visiting researchers. And this is maybe the point of this presentation today, to show you that we can have maybe you coming in the lab to visit us, to do research with us. We work on many things, as I just said, basically digital technologies, transformative technologies, that is all the kind of stuff that is emerging right now, and that has a huge potential, especially because we always keep that in mind when we apply that to Earth observation. And really what we were trying to do is really to connect people with ideas everywhere, talents, and to bring them to our field of space, space applications and Earth observation. And as you maybe already noticed, I have a strong focus, as well as everyone in the PhilAb, about some things that we care a lot about, which is this little blue planet. And indeed, space on Earth are very connected, because we have now around our planet something that is able to act a bit like a nervous system for it. We have lots of satellites, lots of sensors. We are flying around the Earth, and which are able to monitor what is happening here, down here, but also to give us all the information that we need to tackle the current challenges, like climate change, pollution, everything that is related to the environment, but also to the populations, like food access, water access, also maybe the development, the moving of population due to conflicts, for instance. And what we are really trying to do with AI in relation to Earth observation, so AI for you, is to provide the tools to boost the traditional, the classical Earth observation applications. And this is done, of course, with maybe three kinds of things. First, we have something that is very multimodal, more than, for instance, if you're used to AI for computer vision. Here we have a lot of sensors, radars, standard optical ones, but also like sensors for the atmosphere, for monitoring the growth of vegetation, like hyperspectral data. And so we are really in a multimodal world, and we have to process everything with that. We have to bring also some strong AI components, because we have very difficult problems. And the AI can be implemented, of course, on various types of computing, from standard GPUs, but also supercomputers, or maybe even a bit more advanced neuromorphic computing or quantum computing. And in the end, we have, let's say, quite standard task in the sense of AI, computer vision, and so on. That is to quantify, to understand, and to maybe to enhance the data. standard also the detection, like classification and segmentation to produce maps from images, for instance. But also we have a higher level of modeling for the earth science, where we have emulators of what the clouds, the weather could be. And we have to mix that with AI to accelerate everything. So actually AI for EO was started a few years ago. It was in the 7-8 years ago in the big AI wave, and so now it's very established. And so we have, and I would like to connect that to Holger's talk previously. We have also, of course, lots of connections with Claire, and there is actually an AI special interest group on space together with Claire, and we're discussing and trying to organize a bit the ideas and the actions here. We organize, for instance, various workshops, joint events with ECAI or HTML PKDD in the previous years. And there will be, of course, many other activities in the following years. So maybe this is all very general. So in the second part of this talk, I will show you a little of the use cases that we are trying to tackle, but just to give you examples, and maybe that in the assistance there are young talents, young researchers. You are working on some AI modeling. You are working on, you have ideas and you want to put that in application. And basically the message is maybe space on Earth is the domain where you could apply your AI skills. Okay. So first use case, it is about self-supervised learning for lot cover mappings, especially for crop mapping. Of course, crop mapping is something that is very important in terms of access to food and food circuit sustainability. And here in this work, we are trying to use high resolution data from the planet constellation with SAR data from Sentinel-1, which is one of the ESA satellites providing open access data. And as we can see on these various graphics, which are showing the variability depending on location and time over various classes, we see that we have really a problem that is very relevant to AI, that is the domain adaptation. And indeed, so this was tackled by using self-supervised learning, of course, something a bit trendy right now, but which yields some very good results. And basically, the idea was a traditional AI problem, trying to build an embedding on a representation of the data that is good for the downstream task. Another things that we are trying to do is, for instance, to monitor icebergs on sea ice from space, of course. Here, again, it is done with SAR data, so SAR is radar, and it has the good property of being able to see through the colors, so you have always some complete maps. And the idea was to be able to show where the ice was present at sea, and of course, to this as a navigation impact, as you can predict the route of navies with that. Of course, this is a problem that is a bit difficult. And after the first semantic segmentation stuff, we are now moving to CycleGAN in order to be able to also predict what can be seen from some maps to help the understanding of maps. Another thing that is very important also in meteorology is the detection and classification of tropical cyclones. And basically, you have to detect the eye of the cyclone and also categorize that to be able to predict the future behavior of it. And this was done, of course, with standard computer vision techniques. And maybe I go a bit fast, but other kind of other applications, of course, for atmosphere monitoring. For instance, mixing on-ground in situ sensors with Earth observation to be able to have pollution maps all over the country, all over Europe, for instance. And we're also investigating some new techniques like quantum computing, and that's very, very exciting because maybe, of course, it's not for today, more likely for 10 years, 20 years from now. But we already shown that it is possible to perform some standard tasks like remote sensing imagery classification using this kind of hybrid schemes. Neuromorphic is also very interesting in terms of energy efficiency. And also, this is very exploratory, but maybe this is the future. So I will finish on this. We have a website where you can go to see also other examples. Please contact us also if you're interested, and follow Claire on our own activity. And maybe you can join us at some point. We have lots of visiting PhD students, visiting researchers coming in the lab all the year long. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Bertrand. So with this talk, we're closing the first part of the event, which means that I will first thank you all for attending, and thank all the speakers for the interesting talks and insights that they gave us. And I will invite everyone to then join the Q&A that will happen in Gathertown. So you will have an opportunity to ask questions to the speakers. The link will be on the slides, but normally also communicated in the YouTube comments. Then I also invite you to attend the other event from Claire. So just after the Gamified networking session, you can attend the live stream of the Memorandum of Understanding signing between Claire and EU Robotics. And then at 2, there is an event about the vision, so the ICT 48 network of AI excellence that was started 1 year ago, maybe 2, sorry. And so you will hear more about what they're doing and what they plan to do in the future. So I will see you soon in the Gathertown event. Thank you all.